In 1871, outside a small church in Haverford, Washington, a group of men drag a chained prisoner into the storm. The man is not just being punished, he is being contained. A priest whispers a prayer as the men lock the prisoner to a steel stake driven deep into the ground. The prisoner struggles, but it is too late. Lightning hits the stake, sending a violent current through his body. Then something impossible happens. Long, twisted tentacles burst from his back, proving the real monster was never the man himself. It was the thing hiding inside him. More than a century later, that same church still stands. After a strange fire, the floor is damaged and something buried beneath it finally gets a way out. This is where the nightmare begins. In the present day, Haverford looks like a quiet town where nothing serious ever happens. After firefighters put out the church fire, Josh walks back inside to check the building. At first, it is a normal search. Then his axe breaks through the weak floor. Something lashes out from below and attacks him. Josh collapses, fights for breath, then gets back up. He looks fine, but inside him, something ancient has found a new home. Meanwhile, Scott rides through town on his motorcycle and stops near the house of Jessie, a girl he still cares about. Jessie has returned after 2 years away, but Scott only watches from across the street, like he does not know if he has the right to go to her. Sheriff Durst arrives. Durst is Jessie's uncle, and he hates Scott. He warns him to stay away, saying Scott caused enough trouble before. Scott tries to leave, but Jessie notices him and comes over, inviting him inside for a drink. Their talk is awkward, but there is still something between them. Scott soon leaves for his ice hockey game. Back at the station, Josh's condition worsens. He becomes insanely hungry and eats like his body has no control. He drinks milk from the carton, and when someone offers beer, his body rejects it instantly. Something inside him does not want alcohol. It wants fuel. Josh rushes to the bathroom, but his body is already falling apart. His skin peels. His eyes turn red. Blood comes from his mouth. The thing inside him is not living with him. It is using him up, and when Josh becomes useless, it needs another one. Josh tells the others he is fine, but his smile is forced, like he is hiding a fever. At the ice rink, Scott plays while Lydia watches. Lydia is Scott's girlfriend, but when Josh arrives, it becomes obvious there is something going on between them. Josh looks sick, yet Lydia still goes with him into the locker room. Scott grows suspicious. Inside, Josh tries to get close to Lydia, but his mouth opens unnaturally and the parasite starts crawling out. Lydia panics and shoves him away before it can fully transfer. She storms out, angry and shaken, not realizing she may already be infected. Scott later finds Josh's firefighter badge on the floor. Josh stumbles toward the back stairs, bleeding badly, and collapses outside. After the game, Scott introduces Lydia to Jessie. Lydia turns jealous because she can see Scott and Jessie still have unfinished history. Before leaving, Lydia reminds Scott about their dinner date, but when Scott goes to pick her up, Lydia does not answer. Her apartment is trashed. Food is scattered everywhere, like someone tore through the kitchen in a panic. Scott calls, she ignores him, and he assumes she has gone back to Josh. Then Lydia comes outside, dressed like she is going somewhere. Scott follows. She enters a crowded nightclub, sweating, belching, staring at people in a hungry way. In the crowd, she notices a large man named Studdy and heads straight to him. Scott follows them to the restroom, thinking Lydia is cheating. Studdy soon rushes out, disturbed. Scott enters and finds Lydia with her back to him. She will not answer. When he turns her around, Lydia's face is covered in blood. Her eyes are red. Her body is shutting down. She vomits blood and collapses. 2 women walk in screaming, and Scott realizes how bad this looks. His girlfriend is dead. He is covered in blood, and he is the only one beside her body. So, he runs. Sheriff Durst and Deputy Sam arrive. Witnesses say they saw Scott leaving the restroom right after Lydia died, making him the easiest suspect, and Durst is happy to believe it. Scott rides out of town, ready to disappear, but stops on a bridge. He thinks about Jessie being alone, and realizes he cannot leave while something is spreading through Haverford, so he turns back. That night, Scott climbs to Jessie's window. She lets him in, but the blood on him scares her. Scott swears he did not hurt Lydia, but it sounds impossible. Jessie lets him stay the night, but tells him to leave in the morning. Scott sleeps on her couch and dreams of Jessie at a mirror, bleeding from her eyes like Lydia. He wakes up and finds Jessie safe, for now. In the morning, the news reports Lydia's death, and Jessie finally understands why Scott showed up bloody. Scott insists he is innocent. Jessie shows him Josh's badge and says she saw Josh at the rink too. That gives Scott a new idea. Maybe Lydia was not murdered. Maybe Josh passed something to her, and if that is true, this is not just a crime, it is an outbreak. Before they can dig deeper, Sheriff Durst arrives with his gun drawn. Scott hides while Durst questions Jessie. She lies and says she has not seen him, giving Scott time to slip away. Durst finds Scott's bloody clothes in the trash and explodes. Jessie tries to defend Scott, but Durst reminds her, 2 years ago, Scott took the blame for a crime connected to his father, and Durst still sees him as trouble. But the real threat is already moving. At a shopping center, Studdy is infected. He wanders between people, eating scraps and staring at strangers like he is hunting for a new body. His jaw is barely holding together, and he turns more violent by the second. Deputy Sam orders him to stop, but Studdy keeps coming. When he attacks, Sam and Durst shoot him. They think it is over, but they do not understand how this creature works. Scott sneaks into the fire station by setting off the alarm and waiting for everyone to leave. Inside, he searches Josh's records and finds the clue. Josh's last call was the old church fire. Then Scott sees a report about Studdy being shot at the mall and recognizes him as the man Lydia was with right before she died. Now the pattern is clear. Josh, Lydia, Studdy. The creature is jumping from one body to another, burning through each host until nothing is left. And at the hospital, when attendants open the ambulance carrying Studdy's body, they find something worse than a corpse. One attendant steps out covered in blood. The Scourge has already moved again. Meanwhile, Jessie is still trying to understand what is happening in her town. Her mother calls to check on her, worried because Harborford is suddenly all over the news, but Jessie says she is fine. Then she sees something else. On the news, a little girl describes the man from the mall. Red eyes, a wrong-looking face, blood coming from his mouth. Jessie freezes. That is exactly what Scott said he saw with Lydia. She realizes Scott may not be running from a crime. He may be running from something nobody understands yet. So Jessie calls him and tells him she wants to help. Soon she picks him up, and together they drive back to the church. Scott already knows Josh's last fire call happened here, so if this nightmare started anywhere, it started here. Inside, they find Josh's axe still stuck in the broken floor. The hole smells sharp and sour, like something trapped under the church for a long time. They go downstairs and search the basement until Jessie finds a brittle paper tied with string. It is dated May 4th, 1871, and it mentions Corregia, also known as the Scourge. It is not a sickness. It is a living parasite, and the church sealed it away more than 100 years ago. Scott connects the chain. Josh got it in the church, then Lydia, then Studdy. And after Studdy reached the hospital, it moved again, so they head to the hospital. There, Jessie learns the last person near Studdy's body was an attendant named Eddie. Staff say Eddie usually hangs around the skate park after work, so Scott goes there, while Jessie heads to the library to dig deeper into old church records. At the skate park, Eddie is already acting strange. Hungry, unstable, looking for someone new to pass it into. He hassles a girl for food, but before Scott can reach him, the damage is done. Scott finds Eddie dead, surrounded by skaters. Then he sees the girl Eddie attacked, and the moment he notices her condition, he knows the Scourge has already moved again. Scott tries to take the girl with him, but to everyone else he looks like a random guy grabbing someone. The skaters jump in, knock him down, and call the police. At the same time, Jessie finds something in the library archives. In 1871, a man named Edward Norberg was struck by lightning during what people believed was a murder trial, but the records feel wrong, like the trial was a cover for something else. Jessie checks the phone book and finds one of Edward's descendants still living in Harborford. She notices the same mysterious car from earlier tailing her, ignores it, and goes inside, where an old woman from the Norberg family tells her the truth. Edward Norberg was not simply a murderer. He was infected. The Scourge used his body until the church brought in special practitioners to remove it, people who worked in secret, wore black cross rings, and used religious and occult methods to fight things the public was never supposed to know existed. To force it out, they chained Edward to a steel stake during a storm and let lightning strike. The electricity pushed it out, and they trapped it in wine because alcohol weakened it. Edward survived, but the church told everyone he died so the town could stop being afraid. Then he was quietly sent away. The old woman gives Jessie a key to the shed where Edward's belongings are stored. Inside, Jessie finds old extraction tongs and a heavy book of notes about the Corregia. While she reads, she sees a one-eyed man watching through the window. When she looks again, he is gone. The old woman tells her Scott has been arrested. At the jail, Scott is thrown into a cell with a rough biker named Bailey. At first, Bailey sounds like another loud criminal, but then he says he recently picked up a skinny skater girl, and during the ride she got sick, started bleeding, and fell from a bridge. Scott's stomach drops. That means the Scourge already left the girl and entered Bailey. Then Bailey's stomach makes a horrible sound. Scott shouts for Sheriff Durst to let him out. Durst ignores him, so Scott provokes Bailey and kicks him hard enough to cause chaos. When Durst opens the cell, Scott slips out, but Bailey grabs Durst. The Scourge crawls out of Bailey and enters the sheriff. Scott tries to stop it, but he is too late. Now the worst person in town has the parasite inside him. Scott runs, and Durst chases him with Deputy Sam. Jesse arrives as Scott escapes and hides in the back of the patrol car. Durst and Sam corner Scott in an alley, and Durst is ready to shoot. Jesse jumps out with a taser. Durst tells her to stay back, but Jesse has seen enough. She fires into her uncle, and the shock makes the Scourge reveal itself. Long tentacles push out of Durst's body, and Sam finally sees the truth. Sam shoots Durst, but Durst gets back up and shoots him. Scott and Jesse jump into the patrol car. Jesse slams it into Durst, pinning him against a wall. Gas leaks from the wreck, and Scott grabs a flare. One spark later, the whole car erupts in flames. For a moment, it looks like the Scourge is gone, but Jesse's book says otherwise. They hide in a diner, and Jesse shows Scott what she found. The Scourge cannot be destroyed by normal fire because it hides inside the body like a shield. It feeds by jumping host to host, and after enough bodies it can grow and reproduce. Electricity can force it out. Alcohol can weaken it, but killing the host does not kill the creature. Durst may be gone, but the Scourge is alive. Scott and Jesse rush back to the crash site. Police, firefighters, and reporters swarm the area. In the crowd, a large photographer pretends to be a firefighter, so he can get close and shoot pictures of Durst's burned body. Then, Durst's corpse moves. The parasite transfers into the photographer. Before Scott and Jesse can stop him, police shove the man away, thinking he is just disrespectful. Nearby, the one-eyed man appears again, watching like he knows what this is. Scott and Jesse follow the photographer to a bar. They are out of time. If it feeds one more time, it may be strong enough to multiply, so they make a risky plan. They rent a room in the hotel next door. Scott returns to the Norberg shed for the old equipment, including the tongs. In the room, he rigs wires so they can shock the photographer and force the parasite out, the way the practitioners did in 1871. Meanwhile, Jesse goes into the bar. The photographer sits there shoveling peanuts like his body is starving from the inside. Jesse sits beside him, acts vulnerable, and starts drinking beer and bourbon. Alcohol is the one thing the Scourge hates, so she keeps drinking to protect herself. Then she lies that her boyfriend cheated, and she wants to get even. The bait works. She brings him upstairs, gets him into a chair, and ties him up before he realizes. Scott steps out, attaches the wires, and says, "This is the only way to get the parasite out." They turn on the power. The photographer convulses, but the electricity overloads the room and cuts out. Jesse runs to reset the fuse. When she returns, everything is wrong. The Scourge has left the photographer and entered Scott. Scott attacks Jesse, but it cannot move into her because of the alcohol in her body. It retreats inside Scott, waiting. Scott fights for control long enough to beg Jesse to stop him. Jesse grabs a broken lamp, uses the exposed current, and shocks him hard enough to force the creature out. The Scourge crawls from Scott's mouth, twisting and fighting, but Jesse clamps it with the old tongs. She nearly loses it, then throws it into a large container of wine. The parasite weakens instantly. Scott survives. The photographer wakes up terrified. Jesse tells him to get help. Outside, police arrive with the one-eyed man. He is searching for the Scourge, and when Jesse sees his black cross ring, she understands. He is one of the same secret practitioners who fought these things centuries ago. He takes the trapped Scourge and burns it at around 1,500 degrees, hot enough to destroy what ordinary fire could not. Then he tells Jesse and Scott his order has hunted these creatures for generations. Most were wiped out long ago, but some survived. The scar over his missing eye proves it. The last time he fought a Scourge, it cost him his right eye. Then he leaves. For Jesse and Scott, the nightmare finally seems over. They survived, and now they have a chance to decide what comes next between them. But the ending reveals one last ugly truth. At the hospital, the photographer is still alive, and when someone finds him, he is feeding on human remains. That means the Scourge they trapped was not the only one anymore. It had already reproduced, and Harborford's nightmare is just beginning.